Oh,
I don't care how good your
man.
rumble is. I don't care how good the handles feel. If you ever tell me that having the thumbsticks both in the middle is a good idea, I think that you need to be.
No, you need help.
Wow.
New guy comes in.
Okay, Travis, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
It's an important question.
Yeah.
Court's looking weird today.
Hey, Court, did you get a new haircut? Something's
Yeah, that's
different.
what it was. It's the haircut.
Yeah, it's the haircut, it's the tie, it's the vest, a few different things. I also
Okay.
got shorter.
Yeah, he got a little shorter. His hair changed color.
His hair changed color.
And he stopped playing Fortnite.
Oh, there we go.
He stopped playing Fortnite and he transformed completely.
Court has stopped
It's
playing
magical.
Fortnite. No,
But anyway, hold on. Back to the intro I was planning on, but that was good, Ben. That was brilliant. That was brilliant. That was really good. Travis, can you define for me consistency?
Consistency is when you have the same thing over and over. I'm guessing this is not consistency.
Okay, Ben, can you define consistency?
It's when you have the same thing that's happening over and over without changes.
Okay, Aidan, can you define consistency?
not this podcast.
Welcome to Knights of the D-Pad. Ladies, gentlemen, people in the audience of all varieties. Here we are with yet another episode in Season 2 where things are different. The table decorations are different. The table itself is different. And we have my friend Travis
Hi.
here replacing Court, who could not make it this
Decided to
episode.
inform me on Tuesday or Thursday that he
Thursday.
couldn't make it.
Yeah.
Because
and
he
so
forgore.
He
He
forgot.
forgot.
We're not saying like he forgot. He actually
He
said that
actually
himself.
said
He
he
said-
forgore.
He typed it out exactly like that in the group text.
Yeah.
Travis is, however, Travis here is a good friend of mine, and he has some knowledge on video games that we thought
Just
would be
a little bit.
just
Just a dabble.
just a wee bit.
Just a dabble.
A wee bit.
That we thought would be useful for this podcast, so we brought him on, and hopefully he's going to be fun
Yeah.
to have today. So,
Fun.
yeah, welcome. We've got some fun stuff to do today. First off, we're going through our news segments. We have a couple of interesting things to talk about. Then after that, we are ranking every generation of video game consoles, not
Well,
including
not-
arcade consoles, but like
According to the internet, we've left out a generation, but we just decided to merge them.
Generation 1 is just Pong. Just
Yeah,
leave it at that.
we
Pong
merged
wins.
Generation Pong with Generation Atari and everything
Yeah.
in between.
we
That's
had to,
fair.
for the sake of time and simplicity, because we may not have consistency, but we do have simplicity.
In spades, a little too
A
much.
little.
Sometimes a little too much consistency in
Perhaps.
simplicity.
But anyway, let's get on to our news for the day. So why don't we start? Let's take a look with Aidan. Aidan, tell me what you got.
So Microsoft, Microsoft and Sony have been button heads as Microsoft has been trying to buy Blizzard Activision, and Sony's like, but the Call of Duty. And so Microsoft's like, well, Call of Duty this, and so they made two deals. One with Nintendo for a 10-year contract to bring Xbox games to Nintendo consoles, specifically Call of Duty.
Wow.
And Call of Duty is the one that is named the most. Like, it just says Xbox games and Activision titles like Call of Duty, and it's a binding contract. So for the next 10 years, Microsoft, regardless if they own Blizzard or not, has to make sure that Call of Duty can go to Switch and the future Nintendo consoles.
That is insane.
Wow.
I never thought I would open up a Nintendo console, the home of family-friendly gaming, and boot up Call of Duty or
Call
any
of Duty
other-
was on the Wii and Wii U.
It was?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, let's pay attention to Bayonetta.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, Bayonetta was more like the
Yeah,
exception,
so
not the
they are
rule, though.
now Microsoft has said that it will guarantee to make sure that Call of Duty and other titles are on Nintendo. And then
Nice.
Microsoft made a deal with Nvidia that will enable gamers to stream the Xbox PC titles through Nvidia's GeForce Now cloud gaming service. Which
Wow.
now, because of that, the partnership, this is from Microsoft's website, it says the partnership delivers increased choice to gamers and resolves Nvidia's concerns with Microsoft's acquisition of Blizzard Activision. Nvidia, therefore, is offering its full support for regulatory approval of the acquisition.
Wow.
So Microsoft now has Nvidia's backing in its request to buy Blizzard Activision. And there were other reports that China is likely to approve the acquisition as well, so it's looking more and more likely
If China
that
approves of something, it's basic.
it's becoming more and more likely that come midsummer, Activision Blizzard King will be underneath the Microsoft umbrella.
Wow.
So while Sony is whining about Call of Duty, Microsoft's like, we'll just bring Call of Duty everywhere.
I mean, if there's one way to tell everybody that you're not trying to monopolize, it's to make your stuff available easily.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. It's like, oh, really? We're going to pull a Minecraft and port everything to every
Everything.
console.
So Microsoft is making the correct steps. I imagining they're making these deals to help the odds of them acquiring Blizzard.
They probably wouldn't have if it didn't require it, but I mean, if they're
Yeah.
going to be stuck with it, then I'm cool with that.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, I enjoy it because as a active Blizzard enjoyer, I'd like Blizzard
Overwatch
to
fanboy.
not be run by Bobby Kotick any longer than it has to be.
Oh gosh.
yeah.
Alright.
So yeah,
That's fair.
That's that bit of news.
That's an interesting bit of news. Travis,
Okay,
what have you
so
got?
I'm gonna talk a lot about Pokemon. Just newsflash.
Man.
Pokemon.
He is our Pokemon.
Yeah, I'm the Pokemon. So the news I'm going to talk about is actually leaks and rumors about the Pokemon Presents that should be going on Monday. What's the date tomorrow?
Monday the 27th.
27th. Thank you
Yeah.
for
Which
is
being
not
more
tomorrow.
intelligent.
No,
than
this
me.
is Saturday,
Oh.
the 25th.
Ah, thank you.
Yes. So actually, this podcast episode will be airing on Monday, probably before the Pokemon Presents. So watch this, and then go watch Pokemon Presents later in the day.
Nice.
Do it.
Do it.
So
It's required. No.
So some of the big leaks and rumors going on with Pokemon Presents is actually talking about DLC for Scarlet and Violet.
Does the DLC include frame rate?
Actually, the
Performance DLC.
The really funny thing, yes, it does.
Hey.
There's rumors of performance patches being planned.
The
Yes,
fact that
it
there has
needs
to be
it.
rumors of that, and
Hey,
not Game Freak being like, yes, they're coming.
That tells you a lot about how Game Freak is handling things right now.
Not well.
That's really funny.
As well as talk about a third legendary coming to the game, as well as new bits and bobs to the story, as most DLC
Bits and
had.
bobs.
Rumors of a new Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game coming, as
Nice,
well as
nice.
just some quality of life updates to other games.
I want another Pokemon Ranger game. Dang it.
So
we
does
haven't
everyone
seen
else.
one since Shadows of Almia, and that's making me sad because that game was a banger.
Yeah, it was actually a banger and a
It
half.
was good. Right?
I wanna
It had
draw
like
circles.
the best soundtrack.
I want to draw
Wanna
circles
draw
real bad.
circles, Ben.
You know it.
You
I
gotta
know
know I
drawing
wanna
circles
draw
was the best
circles.
gameplay loop
Ever.
ever.
Well, what other bits and bobs of rumors?
So, some other things that are going on is talk of different Paradox Pokemon coming to the games, as well as recently Nintendo announced a lot of really old Game Boy games coming to the Switch.
Of course.
Kind of convenient for what we're talking about today. And there's plenty of rumors that Pokemon will also be joining that little group.
Yeah, I was
of
disappointed
games.
it wasn't
you
part of
were
the
last
original
week. 2 weeks
announcement.
ago you were,
yeah,
yeah.
I was just like, guys, come on.
I have a feeling they're not sorry. Wow. Wrong words there. I have a feeling they're going to be including probably one of their best-selling games.
Probably.
I would assume so.
I
mean,
would
If there's
assume.
any way to sell an old game for $60, I would do it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or just get it for free.
On a computer.
Mm,
Yeah.
Like
But
an emulator.
Wait, would Nintendo do that?
No.
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 I would.
No,
But
they're
that's
trying to
that's
shut
the
people
job
down.
of that's the job of the people.
Yeah.
People rise up.
Rise up.
Download
the
more
Nintendo
games.
Revolution.
Seize the means
Seize
of
the
production. Seize the means of production from Game Freak and Nintendo. We're not going to tell you how though. We are not allowed to do that. So,
Nor do we have many ideas.
oh, I have plenty of
Oh,
ideas.
so do
Aiden
I.
has ideas.
I know where to do it.
That side of the table
but that
has
is
ideas.
not what we are going. We
Yeah.
do not tell the people.
No, I cannot tell you
black
what
market
websites
side
to
of
go
the table?
to. No.
The black
I mean,
market.
they're both wearing black shirts, so
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh my goodness. They're the black market.
the black market right there.
Scheming.
Message us if you want illegal Pokemon.
Good,
There you go.
Anakin. Good.
Oh man.
All right.
The dark side of the
Next,
gamer
let's-
force.
The dark side of the
gamer
gamer
force.
is the pathway to many abilities some would consider to be unnatural.
Like
would
ROM
consider-
hacking.
Some would consider to be copyright infringement.
We're pirates. We don't even know what that means.
See what's so funny is Game Freak doesn't even care.
No, they don't.
No, it's Nintendo. Who
It's
cares?
Nintendo,
It's
who
not even
cares?
Game Freak.
All right, Ben. What about Sony?
All right.
Sony?
So PlayStation State of the Union. I mean, not State of the
State
Union.
of the Union.
State of Play.
The nation of PlayStation.
The nation of PlayStation.
Nation of PlayStation.
I'll just try to be quick. There's a lot to go over, but just general stuff. They've released some new information about Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League.
Oh yes.
That game coming out.
I want to
Apparently,
play Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad.
Just the main character's name is Stu.
Stewie.
No,
Stewie.
no, don't. That would be the guy in our podcast. Apparently, it's going to be a lot more live service than I originally thought. I was
Oh
thought
yeah, that's how games are today.
I was thinking it was going to be like a campaign story-based game, but it's like you have to have like consistent internet connection in order to play the game.
Welcome to the 2020s, where every game is live service with an internet connection required.
Yay.
TM.
Another big news: Baldur's Gate 3 will now
Good.
launch at the end of August.
Good.
I've heard a lot of people are excited for that one.
Well, yeah, Baldur's Gate's an OG.
It's a good game,
An
good
OG
series.
game.
10 out of 10 would recommend. New Resident Evil 4 trailer confirms the return of Mercenaries mode. So
Very
any
nice.
Resident Evil fans would definitely enjoy that.
Resident enjoyers.
Mhm.
Any resident enjoyers of evil.
Some new Destiny 2 information for the new
DLC.
Lightfall DLC. So a lot more games coming to PlayStation VR, which will definitely be pretty exciting. And then generally some new games people should be excited for with Digital Extreme and Airship Syndicate's Wayfinder, Naruto X Boruto Ultimate Ninja Storm, and Goodbye Volcano High.
Ultimate Ninja Storm.
Don't question Naruto.
Don't think too hard about anime.
Don't.
That's a dangerous game, Kyle. Stop it.
It really.
Moving on
Right.
to your actual thing.
Right.
How about
my news story?
go from thinking hard about anime to hard thinking about video games and war again?
Oh, here we go.
Atomic Heart. Just released. It was announced all the way back in 2018, and it's an interesting one. A lot of people are like comparing it to BioShock because it explores a lot of similar themes and it has a
It
similar
looks like
setting
BioShock, yeah.
of like it's like an alternate history where some like incredible technological advancement in the 50s changed everything. But the thing with Atomic Heart is cold fusion succeeded. Now anyone who doesn't know what that is, I'll explain it simple. Cold fusion is the pipe dream of energy generation. It's the thing that is impossible, but would be so perfect if it was, kind of thing. To where people have gone to the length of making hoaxes to say they achieved it, but they didn't, because it's not possible.
But that's
Yet.
not why the game has made headlines.
No, the reason the game has made headlines is for a lot of different things. One of the simplest ones to explain is that it came out with pretty poor optimization at first, and people were wondering if their high-end PCs could run it. And I'm talking high-end. Then the conversation on Reddit shifted from, my perfect PC can't run this game, to, man, I'm glad my crap PC can run the game, and I cannot tell if they're being sarcastic or not, so go figure that out.
But not even that is what's really made the headlines.
No, we're building the tension here because the real big headlines is everybody is wondering what is happening with the studio, the money they're making, and how they feel about the invasion of Ukraine. Now, this is not a political science podcast,
Nope,
so we're not going to delve into that
we are
very
just
much.
reporting what has been reported.
Yes, exactly. We're just reporting.
Don't
what is
shoot the
going on.
messenger.
We're just telling you right now. Because the studio that made Atomic Heart originated in Russia, the game is set in Soviet Russia in 1955, I think. 55 is the year. You see like a lot of the Soviet era propaganda in the game because that's where it's set.
Including a Soviet era cartoon.
Yes, including a Soviet era cartoon, which a lot of people accused of being very racist, and the company actually did apologize for. But people asked them what they thought about the invasion of Ukraine. Now remember, this is still a Russian-based studio. They were founded in Moscow. They gave the most wishy-washy answer that I've ever seen on Twitter. Like it was not good.
I mean, if you want to
Very-
continue playing Atomic Heart, I think they generally made this. Like, it's not. I'm sure they have their own opinions on it, but you know, Russia isn't exactly the most liberal with free speech.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So-
my thought is that they are afraid to say anything like,
Yep.
which I think it's kind of. This is my personal opinion. That I think it's kind of dumb to ask a Russian studio what they think about something Russia is doing that the rest of the world is very unhappy
Well,
with.
even the rest of Russia is
and
unhappy
even the
with.
rest of Russia is unhappy with, because Russian government controls Russian media outlets.
Yeah.
You can't get the answer you're looking for with that. That's just that's not allowed. Otherwise, and if they give it, they'll just be dead. That's how this works.
And like as a part of that, the Ukrainian government is calling for all worldwide users to stop. They're requesting from Valve and Microsoft to have the game removed from the Ukraine stores, but to also limit its selling in other countries.
Because one of the investors for the developers of Atomic Heart is this enormous Russian company that was bragging on some Russian media channel that they had a lot of say in the decision making for the game. So a lot of people are wondering, is money from the sales being funneled into the Russian war effort? We don't know. That's all speculation. We don't know. Again, we're just telling you what's been said and what's been talked about. But yeah, it's steeped in controversy, but the game itself is fascinating. It's not quite as mechanically satisfying as BioShock, according to a bunch of reviewers, especially on melee combat, but they have some really fun features. You have this like thing in your left arm that gives you these powers where like you can levitate all the enemies into the air, and then you can either just shoot them all or just slam them into the ground.
Oh,
which
so
looks
it's just a gravity gun
very.
arm.
It's a gravity gun arm, but it can also shoot like fire or ice, so you can freeze them. And here's a cool feature that is definitely shows that this game is a labor of love from the people who made it. In melee combat, you have these bladed weapons like an axe or this other thing. I couldn't quite tell what it was from the video. But when you slash one of the robots you're fighting, it will gouge out a slash on the robot itself. You see exactly where you hit.
Oh, so it's like a.
So it's not like a texture change, but the exact spot where you see it slice across the robot, it slices open a hole in it.
Nice.
It looks really cool. And the visuals are spectacular. It's again a lot like BioShock in the sense where you're in this utopia where something has gone very, very wrong.
Ah, yes, the Soviet Union. Utopia.
Well, again, well, that's the thing, right? They're presenting it as like, this is the utopia, because they also have incredibly advanced technology. They have free,
True,
clean
this is
energy. You know, again, cold fusion.
The
That's
idea
a
was,
utopia creating technology.
Taking Cold War quite literally.
Yes. But of course, something has gone very, very wrong. The robots are doing strange things, and
that is
humanity's
why
in
you
danger.
don't mess with robots, people.
Yep. We've have all these bits of media telling you about robot uprisings not been enough of a hint. We need to immediately
Stop
stop
it.
the study of robotics. Kidding.
What is it? It's Boston
Boston
Dynamics.
Boston Dynamics, are
I'm
you
looking at
listening
you.
to me?
Stop it. Your robots that are doing kickflips, stop it.
It's too much power you're putting
Get
into
some
their
help.
hands.
Yeah,
or
it
their
One day they're doing Tony
servos.
Hawk kickflips, the next time they're doing
kickflips on your head.
or with your head.
With your
Oh,
head.
yeah. Probably
But yeah,
that one.
the game does look like it's a lot of fun. Reviews have spoken very highly of the gameplay itself.
Yeah.
They say that the English localization is kind of poor with pretty
We love that though.
pretty voice acting and really dialogue.
We love that though.
Like, apparently the main character talks like he's a 12-year-old who just discovered what cuss words are. So.
Wait a minute. So it's like for spoken levels of like cringe.
I've heard it is more like Duke Nukem level.
Oh, well, Duke Nukem's not cringe. Duke Nukem's just Duke
Well,
Nukem.
well, here's the thing. It's Duke Nukem is Duke Nukem, but the guy from Atomic Heart isn't Duke Nukem.
So it's like-
So it's
they
just
try
it's,
to be Duke.
rip
it's
off
just some
Duke
sort of like
Nukem.
it sounds like you just met some random guy and he's trying to be Duke Nukem. he played one Duke
Some
Nukem game
random
and just
guy on the
imported
street.
he just imported Duke Nukem's
He's
personality.
like, this is now my personality, and he sucked at it.
yeah.
Just import. Would you like to import the settings in your character creation?
But you know, the funny thing is, that actually fits with the theming of Atomic Heart, because in the story trailer, like, there's this robot telling you about how great this utopia is. Like, learn Mandarin Chinese in 3 minutes, because they literally just, with their technology, they load the information into your brain.
Oh, so he just uploaded. He just straight up uploaded
so
Duke
he
Nukem
just
into his
uploaded
head
Duke Nukem.
from the future.
Yeah, but aside from some of the hiccups in the presentation of dialogue and story beats, the overall story is said to be pretty good and interesting. The gameplay loop is said to be pretty fun. The combat is engaging, even if melee is a little underpowered. And yeah, so all in all, you know, take it for what you will. We did tell about like some of the stuff that's being discussed in controversy online. We don't know for certain how all of that truly is, just what people speculate on. and yeah, decide whether or not you want to play the game.
Just like with Harry Potter.
Just like with Hogwarts
Oh,
Legacy.
Exactly like Hogwarts Legacy.
Exactly.
You decide what part of the controversy you want to be in.
Yep. And that's how we handle
And that's
controversy
that.
responsibly.
So I think my decision will be
controversy
based on the
responsibly.
fact that you said melee is underpowered. If I can't go stabby, I don't want to play the game.
So here's how it was described, right? There aren't as many melee options, and the ones they have, they say that they just wish you could swing a little faster. That's
Oh.
the only problem, but it does make it hard because you do get swarmed. Yeah. But man, like, the fact that they include, like, the gouges and stuff, that's cool. That makes melee cool. But I feel that because the first time I ever played through a Halo campaign, I found myself just meleeing most of the enemies because I was a
melee is
terrible
busted.
shot.
Sweet. All right.
Yeah.
So I have one more piece of news, but it's esports related, so I'm going to wait till the esports segment to talk about it. So
Awesome.
now it is time to potentially throw some hands.
Here we go.
So
Nice.
we asked Michael, if you remember from episode 4, we mentioned who Michael works with our social media stuff now. The four of us sent him our rankings for the console generations, and then Michael averaged them together. Court, Jason, if you're watching this in post, you aren't here, so you didn't get to participate. So
That's too bad.
that's on you. So Michael averaged it for us. I don't know if Michael put his own list in there. I told him he could. We won't know until the very end.
True.
Alright.
So,
Yeah, so
for the
let's-
record, so
yeah, we need to explain.
officially there are 9 console generations, starting with like the Magnavox and the Odyssey and Pong and stuff, and then Atari, NES. But we combined anything from the Atari 2600 before into one generation.
Yeah.
So the internet will say Generation 4 is the Sega Genesis and the SNES. We are saying that is Generation 3, just to clarify that. So
Generation 1 doesn't exist.
Generation 1 is everything in the Atari era. Generation 2 is the NES era. Generation 3 is the SNES. The 5th generation is the N64 PS1. The 5th generation is the Dreamcast, PS2, GameCube, and Xbox. 6 is the Wii, PS3, 360. 7 is last generation, so the Wii U, the PS4, Xbox One. For all intents and purposes, the Nintendo Switch is a last-gen console, according to everybody. And then
It's
obviously,
just been that long since it came out.
and then the current generation being the Series X Xbox and the PS5. So there are 8 generations, and we each ranked them 1 through 8. Michael averaged them. None of us have seen the final ranking or even what everyone else did. So Michael, I don't know if I will put this as the visual for the episode. Michael created a very bare bones PowerPoint that literally just each screen just has the number ranking and the generation number with a white background PowerPoint.
So I think it might have missed. Were we ranking each one, like PS4, my PS5, Xbox Series
Per
X,
generation, yeah.
and we ranked each of them. In
Each of the
one?
generation, we aren't ranking the console in the generation.
We're just picked one. I just picked one.
Oh, no, you were supposed to rate it off of all of them.
Well, Michael, I just picked one, and I sent it to Michael, and he said thanks. And I
Well,
was like,
probably because you just took the generations and he saw generation rankings. We'll see.
Probably.
So
We'll see
none
what
of us have
happens.
seen it. So we have a TV set up behind the main camera where all of this is, and I have my phone is hooked to it because for some reason my computer didn't want to connect to the Roku, and I couldn't tell you why. So I don't know why the audience can't see this, but it says our PowerPoint is sponsored by IGN. We are not sponsored by IGN. Although IGN, if you would like to sponsor
If you
us,
want to sponsor us, we will gladly
we will
accept
gladly accept it. All right, so we're ready for number 8. In last place, we have Generation 2. So this is the
it.
NES.
Oh man, Generation. Oh, that's interesting.
I had this ranked 7th. I
Yeah.
did not have this dead last, but apparently lots of you guys put it dead last.
I had this 7th as well.
Pretty sure I put it either 7th or 8th. Yeah.
You had to have put it 8th, and Ben.
I personally, I put it up pretty high,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
It's like, I think that it was arguably one of the most important ones because this really expanded the popularity of home consoles. Atari got so far, but the NES was huge.
the NES, I had,
You know,
that's
the
why I had to
NES
put
and,
it.
and the Sega Master System was also huge.
The NES saved home consoles because if you remember back when during the Atari era, home gaming nearly died because of the amount of bad games like E.T.
Yeah, the
You
worst
don't need-
game of all time.
So I didn't have the NES at last, but I did only have it 7th because it's like as influential as the NES was, it's still only
very
the
primitive.
NES.
It's still very primitive, and like even then, the NES was still like you look back at even its performance on the games that it did run, you could tell had its pretty strong limitations. But we did see a lot of things become household names at that time. Things like Super Mario, Sonic,
Yeah.
Final Fantasy. All of these absolute incredible franchises did really, even though some of them started before that, like we had Super Mario on some arcade consoles before.
Yeah, we didn't in
but-
Donkey Kong. Yeah.
in Donkey Kong, but like they really came home and became big here on the NES. So it was important, but I
But
do
we
understand why
apparently
it's
think
low
it's
ranking.
dead last. We'll have to see where everyone rated it and why it averaged to 8th. 'Cause
Yeah.
I put it 7th, but
Maybe Michael put it 8th, and
maybe
that
yeah,
was the
this may
tiebreaker.
be this might be why Michael. Okay,
Yeah.
so 7th, Gen 5.
Gen
What?
5? Seriously?
I put that as like
Dude, I put
first
that
or
as
second.
Yeah, I put that as the best. Hold
I
on, let me
think.
pull
Hang
up
on.
my
No,
text.
wait, no, we fixed it. So Ben, yeah, Michael did it backwards.
Oh my goodness.
Michael, we're going to beat you in post. Last place, Gen 8 Atari.
Oh,
Okay.
that makes so
Just
much more sense.
don't worry. Okay, so we all
Gen
put
8?
the Atari.
Yeah.
Oh well,
Okay.
Wait,
No, Gen 8.
no, no.
Gen 8's the last gen. It's the most recent gen.
There's no way. Did somebody put theirs in? Did somebody put their rankings in backwards?
I did.
I don't.
I think so.
I
Like,
said from
did you
top
put
to
year
bottom.
1 as like the best?
So here's what I did. I sent in like first gen. I ranked my favorite console from that generation. I thought that this was the
Oh, no,
ranking
we
were
were
doing.
console
we were
generation
ranking the
ranking.
generations in total. I thought we were picking one console from each
oh
generation.
no.
So
Welcome to Knights of the D-Pad, where our consistency
to Scuff.
issues do come together
We are
in the thing we're trying to present.
No, we are very consistent. We are consistently inconsistent.
yes. Genius.
So the one thing I can do is just go right to all of our lists in cumulative, and we just talk about why everyone has it ranked, and we'll see what Ben actually did.
Yeah.
So there
my
are
goodness.
here are our rankings. So Michael, you put okay. So no, that looks we're good. So then why was it all?
He
Weird.
put mine in backwards order.
he put mine in
Ah.
a wait.
Wait,
Yeah,
you
he
had
put
the
mine
Atari. Wait, placement first. Wait, what in the heck? Oh, this is weird.
No, wait, no, his is completely out of order for what I put.
Yeah.
His is
Oh.
completely out of order.
All right, well,
I put 6 and 5, 1 and 2. I don't
Michael?
remember which one.
Michael,
You notice how mine literally goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
you put them in straight order.
Well, that's because I went through all the orders. And
that
I
would
see-
be why Gen 1 is up towards the top because Ben didn't follow
Well, I didn't know. You just sent me like the.
console generation rankings.
Yeah, I thought we were picking one console from each generation.
We're ranking the generations.
Well, excuse me.
Okay, well then we're just gonna have a discussion here live.
Cool.
I may decide to cut out that sad excuse for a segment we just did.
All right.
Do we
Wow.
generally agree that the Atari is the worst? Like that generation of consoles
Yeah.
is the worst,
Yeah.
Yes, it is. It was
It
good
was-
for what it was.
but it almost killed home console.
Yes.
Yeah, because it was just bad. People didn't know what to do, and it was
Developer-wise.
just and they were too and the consoles were too weak to keep up with arcade consoles, you know, and so it just there's a reason home consoles almost died. It just was not good.
But then they were saved. But so the question is, so it's like the NES and the SNES are either which one is what do you guys think is the seventh ranked generation of consoles? I think it's the NES
NES.
era.
Yeah.
I think it's Gen 2. And we all seem to agree on
I,
that.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's like the NES was important, but I feel like the following generation with the Genesis and the SNES was more
Was-
influential.
Yeah, so it's like it saved home consoles, yes, but it was still not fully realized. You know, even within its own sphere, there was still just like it didn't all come together yet. That's
Yeah.
the way I'll describe it.
Like the NES did save home consoles, but it's like I think the SNES is like because let's see, the first Legend of Zelda game came out on the SNES, didn't it? It didn't come out on the NES
I don't remember. Let's see.
because I didn't know that I didn't think the NES was powerful enough.
And just kind of from personal experience, I feel like I hear more people talk nostalgic memories
About
of
the SNES.
Yeah.
1986.
The series debuted in Japan with The Legend of Zelda on February 21st, 1986. That was just a few days ago, the anniversary.
That was before the SNES came out.
That was before the SNES, so it was an NES game
but it was at the very end of this of like that
of the
before-
NES. Yeah.
Well, okay, so yeah, so I just feel like generations 1 through 3 are like 8, 7, 6. Like, yeah, they're great and all, but the only thing they have going for them nowadays is nostalgia factor.
Actually, I would disagree. I ranked the Super Nintendo Sega Genesis generation as second from the top.
You got it a second.
Yes.
Really?
And, okay, everybody here who has played a Super Nintendo, raise your hand. The actual Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
Okay, dope.
You know,
Cool.
I've generally played almost every console generation because there's always like that one person, whether it's in the ward or in the family, that just has one.
Yeah. And for me, it was at my grandparents' house in Washington. They had a Super Nintendo in the basement that actually belonged to my uncle, but he left it there so the grandkids
Yeah,
could
that's
play.
usually how that. Yeah, that's how it works.
And every time we went over there, we would play Super Mario World, the original Super Mario
Super
World,
Mario
which I
World.
still think, after playing a lot of platformers of the same type,
It's
Super
the
Mario
best
World
platformer?
is one of, if not the best, 2D platformer ever made. Final Fantasy VI, but it had been released in America as Final Fantasy III because reasons, which is also one of the greatest RPGs of all time. In fact, GameStop, their magazine Game Informer, made a list of the 100 greatest RPGs of all time. Number 2
Yeah, you said it was up
was Final Fantasy VI, and number 3 was also on the
So
SNES.
you said it was
Chrono
number
Trigger.
2.
Yes, and here is why I'm going to tell you why. So, this was the pinnacle of 2D gaming. The
Okay, this is
pinnacle
true. This
of
much is
2D
true.
gaming. The 16-bit was just enough technological prowess to do things that game developers wanted to do. The movements and expressions and emotes and animations had enough detail in them now that you could create beautiful artistic things while still not being so focused on high res that it sort of stamped that out in favor of photorealism and nothing else. You could just make things. You could make what you wanted to make, but you had to be creative because you were still working with 16 bits. It was all pixel graphics, but it was good pixel graphics, really good.
Good pixel graphics.
Minecraft may have popularized pixel art nowadays, but
In
pixel
the
art
3D space.
was thriving already in the SNES era and the Sega Genesis. The animations were still smooth looking, even though that they were not at the same 60 FPS frame rates, and the consoles actually held with high performance. There were some performance issues, but there were performance issues on every generation. The SNES was so good.
So then what did you have as 6th?
As 6th? Hold on.
Everyone pull up your list just so you have them here. So
I'm
that,
making my list.
okay,
right
Ben
now.
is currently. But we all agree that 8 and 7 is Atari and NES, right? We seem to be
easy,
Okay.
easy.
So
Yeah.
then, what does everyone have? I have SNES as 6. Travis, do you have SNES as 6 as well?
Let me find out. Hang on.
But also, I will say,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it
Also
was,
6. Ben, do you have SNES probably 6 as well? The SNES era?
Super Nintendo, I would put around 7, 6.
Yeah. So it's like Ben, Kyle, you're the only one that.
these guys have no appreciation also for the golden era of RPGs. That's a common term in the gamer community. Is the SNES was the golden
Then what is
era
it?
of
What
RPGs.
is your 6th? What do you have in 6th?
Gen 8?
I have that in 5th.
Yeah, and the reason I will explain this. The reason I have Gen 8.
Well,
higher.
I
Yeah.
What do you have? Well, what
I-
is your 5th?
Okay, my 5th would be Gen 4.
Oh, you. Oh, so you have like the N64 and stuff is your 5th.
No, that's Gen 5. Gen 4 is GameCube.
No.
Oh wait,
No,
no,
it's
wait,
Gen 4.
no, Gen 4 is sorry.
Ben,
Gen
what
4
is your
N64.
5th place?
My 5th place, I would say the Wii, or Wii era. Which one was
Wow.
that? That one was
What?
7.
6? You
Yeah.
have 6. You have the 6th gen consoles
gen.
with Wii and 360 as 5th.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So
All right,
also,
so
like-
we're all very different here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
We're
that's
gonna
just
need
my
a
personal.
visual aid for this.
I
on
will
the-
try and do that.
Yeah.
Good luck, me. Good luck tomorrow, me. So then
Yeah.
let's just all. So, Kyle, you and I, even though I have Gen 8 and 5th because my SNES is in 6th. So my thought process was I feel like home consoles aren't as big of a thing anymore
So
because I think PC gaming and cloud gaming
PC and
is
cloud gaming
becoming
coming
a
up,
bigger
but
thing.
that's not the reason I use, though I think that's a very valid
That's
reason.
my reasoning for it.
My reason is this, right? In this recent era, the current console generation, we have some of the most processing-wise capable and powerful consoles we've ever made, right?
Yeah.
And we have some innovation with the PS5 controller, and it's even better HD rumble stuff than the Switch does. But the problem is, for every banger of a game that comes out, there are 5 ones that are trash, that are garbage release, that like take a year to patch into basic playableness, and even then just do not fulfill the promises they are made. It's not even because of the hardware, though. I do feel like we've gotten too far into let's just stick more powerful processors into the hardware, and not enough into let's make the hardware something interesting and new. Which, I mean, in the past multiple generations has been exclusively what Nintendo is doing, whereas the other ones are just like, let's just make it more powerful. Which it isn't bad, it's just at the expense of creativity in other methods.
Yeah.
So that's why I have this listed as 3rd from the bottom.
Yeah, you have
Gen
it as
8.
6th. I have it as 5th.
Yeah, because it's just been, there's too many disappointments, and although the ones that are good are amazing, like God of War Ragnarok,
There's just a lot of mediocre.
there's just a lot of mediocre stuff.
Combined with the
right
fact
now.
that home consoles aren't as big of an industry as they used to be, because PC gaming is just becoming more and more mainstream
and more accessible.
and more accessible. So it's like consoles aren't as important now, and now that there's only 2 current gen consoles.
Yeah, Nintendo hasn't even entered the current
Nintendo
gen.
hasn't even entered the current gen yet.
They're
so.
still making
And
games for the Switch.
Kind of making a callback to what you said about the golden age of RPGs. They were able to do a lot with their 16 bits.
Yeah.
All these photorealism games just kind of get lost in the mud, literally, to
Yeah.
be honest.
Yeah, because like all the visual styles now blend together, because
Now
it's
blend
just
together.
like, oh, you see the pores on people's faces, and that's the only thing that people
Everyone
care
either
about.
goes for a Minecraft look, a hyper-realistic look, or they try to be Breath of the Wild.
And they fail because, dang, that game was good.
Yes.
There's no in between. It's usually one of those 3.
Exactly.
But you had current gen at 6. What is your 5th?
Gen 7.
Oh, okay,
And
so
here's-
last gen consoles.
Yeah, but here's the reason, right? I think the hardware of the consoles was great. And the only reason, and there were more amazing games on the last gen than there are on the current gen. But the reason I'm putting it all the way down in 5th is because that's where the current issues we're facing really started coming into full swing. We were experiencing them quite a bit on that generation of consoles. I mean, like, think about what amazing, incredible Xbox One game came out. Master Chief Collection.
Chief Collection busted on release.
Busted on release. It was eventually fixed and is great now.
Technically, no, GTA 5 was not released on Xbox One. That
Uh-huh.
was a 360
That
game.
was 360.
Halo 5 was a mess.
That was a mess.
Shoot, I got
What about
nothing.
PlayStation
Yeah.
games?
And like even then, like
God of War,
Yeah, but it's like each one
Red
has
Dead
their
Redemption.
Own, yeah, PlayStation had
yeah, you have like God of War, Red Dead Redemption, Breath of the Wild,
Overwatch.
Overwatch.
On release.
yeah, and then a whole bunch of just kind of and of course Horizon Zero Dawn.
But then the live service apocalypse came.
Then
and
that
now
was
that's
when
where
it
we are.
began, which is why this is at 5th. Even though like what some of my favorite consoles of all time, the Switch is one of my favorites of all time. I think it's one of the most ingenuitive and interesting consoles.
I thought that you were gonna place
But-
last gen higher, and you were gonna be like the Switch, and I'd be like counterpoint the Wii U.
Yeah, but at the same time, we also have the abysmal Wii U, where the only good thing that happened with that
Was
was
Smash.
Mario Maker
Oh, and Super
and
Smash.
Smash 4. And so it's like it was just too muddled. There were so many amazing things, but it wasn't as muddled as things currently are, but it was still very muddled.
It was the start of the muddling.
It was the start of the great muddling.
Because my 5th is current gen, and I agree with everything you said. But you put the Wii and 360 in 5th.
Which
Ye-
one is that?
That would be 6, Gen 6.
Gen 6. So I put the whole 9 in my list. But anyway, that's Gen 7. I put that as 3rd.
Oh, okay. So what is your 5th then?
My 5th would be Gen 4.
So you put you two are both N64, the start of 3D games.
I think those were really good. I think it brought in a lot.
But you think it's just mid compared?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I am
I
personally.
hear all of the Ocarina of Time fanboys running to the building as we
Even
speak.
Majora's Mask.
I mean, I never played them, so.
But yeah, let Ben finish. Yeah.
Well,
I
you both
personally- yeah.
said it. So I mean,
I
Yeah, okay.
personally have like a lot of like not really like bias towards high power processing because I'm a PC gamer. I prefer
enough.
higher power, better graphics, better speed,
I agree.
and so
so the 1990s just didn't cut it.
the 1990s just didn't cut it for me, man. Like
You weren't even alive.
I was born 1999. I played.
You're
when
old.
I am old.
98.
Jeez.
All right.
He's like, I'm a PC gamer. I need processing power. But the 90s, nah, they couldn't do it. Doesn't cut it.
Doesn't cut it. Nah, if it has less than 300
If
polygons.
it's using a game cartridge, get it out of here.
Mhm. If I have to blow into it for it to work.
That's really funny.
man.
Oh man.
This is supposed to be a console, not the.
So you have it rated 5th just because it's like it's not good enough.
Like it is good, but just like with what it was able to do wasn't that much.
And what about you? Do you agree with him? Is
Yeah,
that
what are your
yeah, you know,
sentiments?
as a fellow PC gamer,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fair enough.
it's
Alright.
kind of the vibe that I'm going with. It's like it did a lot, but just not my style of a lot.
Okay, so yeah, my 5th was current gen. Your both was NES, N64, and you said last gen consoles.
Yeah, Gen 7.
Now, what about 4th? So my 4th is last gen, and I agree with everything you said. I just placed it higher than current gen because last gen did have the Switch, and
Yeah.
the consoles were good and we had good games, and it started off well, and it just kind of got
Sorta,
worse.
yeah.
So I think it's better than current gen. But what do you guys have as
So
4th?
I actually have current gen as fourth.
As fourth.
Because pretty much the same reasons. It's
Really good processing power, but the games mostly just
Yeah.
suck.
And I have found a good few games that I really enjoy, and to be honest, it's kind of hard for me to do that. So when I find a game I really enjoy, it's like, okay, cool, I like this.
Yeah, so I feel like current gen, especially as PC gamers, like current gen is like you're like, I have a PC, why would I buy an Xbox Series X or PS5?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
What is your 4th, Ben?
I have PS4, so I think it's
Last gen.
ours,
So you have
last gen.
so you and I agree on last
like
gen.
I really like what comes with PS4 because I had
Yeah.
PS4, but then like the Xbox, like you were said, Xbox One just had a terrible.
Like I
generation.
enjoyed the Xbox One because that was when I started playing Overwatch and like Rocket League and stuff. But it's like last gen was when they like really pushed for the always online. Like to do anything, you had to have like
Internet
their
connection.
internet connection, like the Xbox Live or the PlayStation Network.
But oh wait, I was about to say, but not Nintendo. But then I remembered Splatoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, but any arguments for Nintendo, I just go Wii U.
There you go.
Yeah, the Wii U was garbage.
Because like the Switch was a home run, but the Wii U counters that
Yeah.
because they're in the,
The
same
Wii U,
gen.
The Wii U was standing outside the field, behind
Yeah,
the,
behind the
and
fence,
just grab the ball
and just grab
threw
the
it
ball
back.
and throw it back. Exactly. So like that was the problem. It's like Nintendo went net neutral last gen because the Wii U was so bad and the Switch was so good. They just cancel each other.
What's
You know, I
really
like
funny
the
is
Switch.
they knew the Wii U was so abysmal that they literally just copy pasted the idea and just did it.
Well, they
better.
just scrapped the console and just said, "Here's just the gamepad,"
Pretty much.
Like,
and
I-
it worked.
and it worked.
The Switch is good. We already talked about this
Yeah,
with
the
our.
Switch is really
The
good.
Switch is good. I cannot get past the Joy-Con drift.
Yeah, it's like Joy-Con drift.
that
I do
is
that.
Oh,
the
that's why I
one
splurged that
crucial
$100
failure of the
Pro
Switch.
controller.
Yeah. Pro controllers. really
Last
helped.
gen just had so many issues overall with just live service games coming in. So what about third?
Hold on.
Oh,
we
wait,
haven't
you
talked about what I have in.
Oh.
What
fourth
is, yeah,
place.
what's your 4th?
Yeah, so my 4th place is Generation 4, the Nintendo
N64
64.
PS1.
So yeah, I will
Okay.
say N64 was incredibly innovative. It brought gaming into 3D in new and interesting ways. And honestly, yeah, they had some amazing games at the time. You know, you had Star Fox 64,
Super
Mario
Smash
64,
Bros.
the original Super Smash Bros. I
Nice.
mean, come on, we owe a
Majora's
lot to
Mask
that. Majora's
and
Mask,
Ocarina of Time.
Ocarina of
Okay.
Time. And right now I'm listing a bunch of things on Nintendo, but I think we also had some other. What else was in that generation?
Well, it
Hold
was
on.
the PS1.
Yeah, the original PlayStation
And the Sega
Come on,
Saturn.
guys, the Sega Saturn, which was I think the last. No, Sega
Nope,
Dreamcast
Sega
was the last.
But the PS1 and the PS1 was what initiated the discs.
Yeah.
Because whereas the N64
PS1
and
started
Saturn were
discs.
still sitting with their cartridges,
And this was where
PlayStation
yes,
was all like,
and
no,
I
we're gonna go
should
discs.
mention this: Final Fantasy VII, also one of the greatest RPGs of all time, came out in this era. There was a lot of really good stuff. It's just kind of like with the NES, but not to the same degree. They hadn't fully realized this new technology. They
But
were experimenting. They were
good-
making
they
new
were
things.
getting there, and they
were
were good
good,
with it.
and they were definitely better with what they had than the NES was with what it had. But it wasn't fully realized, which I'll get back to later. So
Okay.
continue.
Yeah, I agree with all of that because it was like the introduction into 3D games. Because moving into third place, I have that generation in third.
There we go.
Specifically because it's like the introduction into 3D games, and like Mario 64 was like mind blowing to everybody because they were like, "Is this a full 3D platformer?" And Nintendo was like, "Yes, yes, it is." And then all of like, I feel like this generation was defined by Nintendo because like, yeah, the PS1 was out, but it's like, what was the PS1 didn't do a whole lot yet. It just used the discs.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Sega Saturn, we all kind of forget about the Sega consoles because it was like, what was there other than Sonic?
I kind of forgot they existed.
See?
Yeah.
Point, case in point.
And this was
Sega who?
I think
Sega
this
who?
was the beginning of the Sega downfall. I feel like Sega probably peaked with the Genesis.
Well, the Saturn was so far behind the N64 and PlayStation.
Yeah.
They were
It-
so far
It
behind.
had some good entries, but it was just like this was the beginning of the end for Sega consoles.
Yeah, it was, but the PS, it was just like, because I feel like this generation of consoles has the most nostalgia from when I talk to people. People reminisce about the N64 more than they do any of the other older generation of consoles.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that might be more of a millennial thing, but
Maybe, yeah.
You know.
But I mean, they just had, like, you got, like, Mario Kart 64 and Super Smash Bros.
It's true.
64. And they just got, but as you were talking, it's like they hadn't perfected the 3D games yet, but they were getting there and getting well. So that was my third place. What's your third
So
place, Travis?
yeah, I'm gonna do like a massive curveball.
Uh-oh.
I actually
we go.
put last generation's consoles.
Really?
Yes, I know they were low
Honestly.
key hot garbage, but
Yeah, I don't know.
but I don't know. I love my Xbox One. I love my Switch. I love the games.
Now, is it
on
the
there.
Xbox One with or without the Kinect bundle?
Without the Kinect.
See, Microsoft fixed themselves.
Mm.
Microsoft started last gen's consoles horrendously. They're like, you know this Kinect you all hate. What if you had to have it?
Ooh. So, I mean, like, as bad as a lot of the games were, there were some really good gems.
Yeah, there were.
and it's true we had some amazing stuff on the PlayStation 4. Think about Uncharted.
Yeah.
Mhm.
A
I feel
Thief's
like
End.
the PlayStation 4 was the best of the last gen. Well, I guess technically the Switch
The
is.
Switch and PlayStation 4 were the top of that gen,
Yeah.
and they're both top tier consoles. It's just the rest of it got really muddy.
I really liked the Xbox One because
I thought the Xbox One was good.
It was a solid console.
I think that the Xbox One controller is one of the best controllers ever
I
manufactured.
agreed fully,
Well, I like the-
100%.
My roommate got a PS5, and I've gotten to use the PS5 controller.
Yeah, but
I
you
like-
know my feelings on the PlayStation controllers.
I know, but like, oh,
I don't care how
oh,
good your
man.
rumble is. I don't care how good the handles feel. If you ever tell me that having the thumbsticks both in the middle is a good idea,
They
I
fit
think that
perfectly.
you need
Yeah,
to be.
no, you need help.
Wow.
New guy comes in
You
and
need
dog
to
piles on the PlayStation controller.
I love the location. I hate having my thumbs like asymmetrically like that, but that's just personal.
The
I-
door's over there to get help.
Court's not here, but the door is still being pointed to you, Ben.
There you go.
Travis
I will-
is trying to secure a permanent place on the podcast.
I will.
I have another
gladly-
Xbox sympathizer. Court is no longer here.
Hey, fist bump.
Like I like the Xbox One. Once Microsoft were like, oh, this Kinect thing is a bad idea, and they got rid of it. Like before, like live service games started, I feel like Microsoft was in a good place. But
Yeah.
then live service started, and then it rolled out of
And we
control.
also got ourselves Rocket League in that gen.
Star Wars Battlefront, though. I played Battlefront.
Which one?
Battlefront 1.
The-
Battlefront
the-
2.
Well, see, Battlefront 1 started well.
It did.
And then rolled out of control in a bad way. Battlefront 2
Yeah.
started as a colossal mess and then fixed itself.
Wait, it did? I've been trying to play that for like ever, and I
Yeah,
can't
no,
find
Battlefront 2
players.
now is, well, when it was still, most people do modded servers on PC.
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Ah.
Well,
now
like,
you get into the mods and
A
play
year,
as Banana
a year
and
after
Skywalker.
release, like in 2018,
Oh,
after
okay.
Battlefront 2 was fixed, it was a really good game.
It was good.
Like last gen consoles just they started pretty poorly and they ended very poorly. But there was like 2 or 3 years in the middle
There's
there.
that- yeah,
where
right
it
around the
was
time the
good.
Switch released.
Right around the
Yeah.
2017.
And you know, it might be a really bad way to rate it, but I'm kind of counting those 2 golden years of the last
As
gen.
to hold it at the third place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty bad way to rate it, I
Understandable.
know, but
So Ben, what was your third place?
I honestly have no idea because my list is a mess. And so, I think my third place is like the PS1 era.
Oh, so the N64, same as me then.
Okay.
So it's just like the introduction to 3D games. That's what I buy it on. Most people are nostalgic about that era, and it's the introduction to the 64, into 3D games, and it just has so many good games. And there were no like problems plaguing that generation, unlike current and last gen.
yeah.
Okay.
What
that's
about
pretty
you,
good.
Kyle? What's your
my,
third place?
My third place was Generation 6. That's the Wii,
The Wii,
the
the
Xbox
PS3,
360, and
and
the PlayStation 3.
Ouch.
What?
Well, I think we might know
Okay.
what might be
Now-
number
now-
one for
now
this guy.
here's it might be, but here's why I'm going to explain this. This thing, I would say, the top 3, honestly, in my opinion, all deserve a spot at number 1 because all of them had such perfection that released upon them. We've already talked about how I put the SNES as second from the top, and it hurt to make that decision, but I had to.
Yeah, and so because I have Gen 6 360 at 2. I guess I'll piggyback on things that you're saying. Like, why do you have it at 3? Because I have it at 2.
Yeah. So
did you put it at 3 just because you couldn't put it above the SNES era?
That was one of the reasons. SNES is very important to me, and I think it's important to gaming. But here's I'm gonna first talk about why I rate it so high before I get into why there are other things above it. So why I rate it so high? First of all, the Wii and the Xbox 360 should speak for themselves.
Yeah,
These were two consoles who were so perfect. And they did things so perfectly. I mean, yeah, eventually we hit technical limitations. When we saw Skyward Sword, we realized that, the motion controls weren't as good as we thought they were. They had the limitations. But heck, we play alone as a tech demo and Wii Sports.
Wii Sports alone carries.
Yeah.
Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort are two of the best video games ever created.
And we had such amazing stuff. And also, let's point out, Skyrim.
Or Call of Duty.
Skyrim and some of the golden stuff of Call of Duty all came out on the Xbox 360 and were available on the Wii. Actually, I don't know if you could play Skyrim on the Wii.
No.
No?
Yeah. No, I don't think so. I don't think it's powerful enough.
So remember how I mentioned the Game Informer magazine's ranking of top 100 RPGs of all time?
Skyrim was one, wasn't it?
Skyrim was number 1.
Oh,
it was the only thing that could beat out Final Fantasy VI, and it deserves to.
This generation of consoles is it's what introduced and perfected online play, specifically with Call of Duty. Those Call of Duty lobbies, you just had to be there.
They were something.
You just had to be there. You had to be there for those Call of Duty.
And it was and the Wii was one of the pinnacles.
Everybody
of
and their
Nintendo
mother
gaming.
owned a Wii.
Everybody, the memes of the Nintendo executives holding up a Wii and yelling at Prince money because it was so
good. I had on my mom's side of the family, her family is not a gaming family. Every family owned a Wii except her brother who had a 360.
Right.
You guys want to know what's really funny?
What?
I've never owned a Wii.
You've never? Wow.
Wow. Well, we found one.
We have one of the rarest creatures on planet Earth.
Someone who has
an
never
American
owned a
who has
Wii.
never owned a Wii.
Wow.
Hi.
The amount of stuff that you could do it. You're either playing Wii Sports. Everybody who owned a Wii has either played Wii Sports Resort or Just Dance or a Lego Star Wars game or Mario Kart
Or all of the above.
or all of the above.
Probably all of the above. We had some amazing Mario Kart games. We also had what I considered to be the greatest 3D platformers ever made.
New Super Mario Brothers.
No.
Oh.
Super Mario Galaxy and Super
yes,
Mario
of
Galaxy
course. How
2.
could I forget?
Especially Super Mario Galaxy 2.
How could I forget?
I think those are the two best designed 3D platformers
so
ever
good.
made. They were such perfection. It made me so sad to realize that they sold poorly just because everybody wanted new Super Mario Bros, which I thought was kind of meh at best. Even though it did hit a lot of the common things that Super Mario platformers have done.
Yeah.
It was just that's the point. It did what's already been done. Super Mario Galaxy was
is brand new.
perfection. It was so
And,
good.
I have this rated second because the Wii.
All these reasons is why
you
I
could
also
play-
have it second.
You have it second as well.
Yeah, let's move into second.
So
then.
we have second. So Ben and I agree. We know what yours is. You don't really have to talk about.
I've
it more
already
unless you want
explained
to.
it.
Your 2 is not this.
No, it's
Okay,
actually.
so Ben and I will talk about ours first. It's I owned a Wii, and I didn't own a 360, but I played it all the time.
Yep.
But the fact that you could put in GameCube discs into the Wii and just plug the game. The fact that the Wii had GameCube controller ports and GameCube controller memory card slots.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It was such a good idea on Nintendo's part.
That was one of the best examples of backwards compatibility ever.
Ever. And playing the Wii. But what's funny, I personally don't know a single person who owned a PS3.
Yeah, that is the weakest part of the generation was the PS3.
Sony knocks it out of the park with all their consoles, and then you look at the PS3 and you're like, did anyone actually own this The only thing I remember about the PS3 is that it was the first console that could run Blu-ray discs.
You want to know something funny
true.
about PS3? In my apartment that I used to live in, there was just one in the closet.
The PS3 was the weakest of those consoles because the Wii was just so innovative and the Xbox 360 was the home run console.
Yep.
The PS3 just kind of existed
Yeah.
and nobody really owned one.
And that's the funny thing, right? We have a unique example of a console that was an abysmal failure, but didn't drag other things down because of
But
it.
it wasn't technically a failure. It just nobody used it. The Wii U was a failure.
Yeah, the Wii U was so bad it dragged down that generation of consoles.
The
but
PS3
the PS3
just existed.
It was just there.
It was just there.
No one cared.
Nobody cared.
Because the other two things were so.
It's either
big.
you're a hardcore gamer on the 360 or you're a family of gamers on the Wii.
Yeah.
But the PS3 was I can play Blu-ray discs.
Yeah.
Like that was it. But my favorite part of the Wii. Everybody remember the Wii generation of Sonic games? You had like the really good ones of like Colors and Generations, but then you had the Wii exclusives of like Sonic and the Black Knights and Sonic and the Secret Rings.
Or Sonic 2006.
Oh gosh.
Right, that was that
was
generation.
on the Wii.
But what was
That
funny
was
about
so
that
bad.
generation is that unlike other generations of like current gen and last gen, where it's like every console has like the same game, it's just optimized slightly different. That generation of games, like the PS3 and 360 would have, you know, when Sonic Unleashed came out, it was like the Xbox 360 and PS3 versions were identical. The Wii version was a dumbed down, simplified version of the game because the Wii was less powerful. Sonic Generations never even released on the Wii because it wasn't powerful enough. But yet the Wii was the best selling out of the three.
Yeah.
I mean,
because it's the Wii.
Yeah.
I just love
Yeah.
Wii Sports.
So what's your number
What's
two?
your number
Okay,
two?
so my number 2 is actually the 5th generation with the GameCube, PlayStation 2.
Because I can probably guess what all of our ones is, correct?
mm,
Maybe. Well,
You can guess
you
what
haven't
mine
said.
is.
There's only one generation that the three of us haven't said yet.
yeah,
Yeah.
Well, there's one I haven't talked about. My number one is this gen, PS5.
Wait,
Xbox
where
One.
did you have? How
I
did
don't
you
remember
slide?
putting the GameCube
How did you
down.
slide past us by throwing the GameCube generation lower?
We missed a generation.
No, we didn't.
No, you just missed me because I was too busy making my list.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so your two is the game. What's your
Okay.
one then?
So my 1 is actually the 360.
Okay,
the
so
Wii.
you probably for the same reasons, just you probably have more memories of it, yeah?
Little bit of different reasons, but I do kind of want to go into those because one of them is actually a funny story. But the reason I have stuff like the GameCube and the PlayStation 2 is lower as
Than the Wii and 360.
than the Wii is because they did a lot of impressive things, like from what I can recall at the very least. But it just really feels like looking back on it, other than the bias and the nostalgia, but it just seemed like the 360 and the Wii did things better.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
fair.
They,
Yeah.
they innovated because the 360 innovated in online play and the hardcore gamers, and we innovated in motion controls.
Yeah.
Which is fair.
And like, and the games were just so solid. I remember, like, because I've been playing a lot of games on the Xbox 360 in the past few weeks with my brother-in-law, because he still has his Xbox 360, and I've gotten to experience it in a way that I never really could before because we just didn't have Xboxes in my house growing up. And so I played the whole campaign of Halo Reach. It was a blast. I'm playing this Lord of the Rings game, Lord of the Rings War in the North, which is so good.
So it's so funny.
And like Xbox 360 was solid.
Yeah, 360 was good. So then, so your two is GameCube. What is your two is Wii and 360?
Yep.
What is your one?
This gen, PS5, Xbox One.
Processing
I'm surprised
power.
that the PC gamer is saying yes. The console of this current gen that I don't play because I have a PC.
Well, no, my roommate has a PS5, and like so getting to play that actually is the reason it's number one. Just with the haptic feedback, it just introduces a whole new style.
Because the rest of us have current gen is like fifth, sixth.
I know.
Well, I did put
'Cause, like-
mine as like 4th,
Which
and
is
I-
still the middle of the
yeah.
pack.
I mean, still,
Yeah.
but,
But like I don't know, I'm a very touch person.
So having the haptic
So,
Okay.
so the haptic feedback is just it introduces
alone
a
makes it the
far
best
far different
interesting.
enjoying experience.
So I bet you would love getting a haptic feedback controller for some PC games. Huh?
Oh, 100%.
I'm surprised that Sony doesn't like playing nice with people.
No,
Because
they
if
don't.
Microsoft had perfected a haptic feedback, they definitely would have integrated that into Windows. It's like, yeah, you can USB to your computer and have the haptic feedback in your controller.
Which
But
would
because
be
it's
cool.
because
Nice.
it's Sony's not gonna do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Sony doesn't want to play nice with anybody.
So we're gonna have to wait a while until someone makes like something similar that
Because
isn't
heck,
quite the
even
same. Yeah.
even the Nintendo Switch Pro controller can attach
Yeah.
to a computer. Like, and this
Yeah.
is Nintendo we're talking about.
So
Come on,
So
Sony.
your 1 and 2 is basically ours, but just because your 2 is SNES, but you have the Wii and stuff is 3,
Yeah.
and so we
Yeah.
all about the same.
Yeah.
Before we go, where in the heck do you have 5th generation with GameCube?
4?
That's too low.
Here's my issue. I have no experience with it
Okay,
whatsoever.
that's fair.
Okay.
I have not even touched a
Wait,
GameCube.
so like no Pokemon XD, Gale of Darkness,
Or Coliseum?
Nope.
No Super Smash Bros. Melee, no Mario Kart Double
I've only played
Dash,
Melee
no Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, no
Or Twilight Princess.
Twilight Princess,
Well, Twilight
I played-
Princess
I
was
played-
also on the Wii.
I played all the
No
games
Star-
that are on Wii. I
no
played on
Star
the Wii.
Wars Battlefront 1 and 2, no Burnout
Bangers.
series. My goodness.
Yeah.
Okay, so
All right.
that's why you placed it low.
So-
Yeah,
You
it's
just
just,
don't-
I don't have experience with it. Like I think they're good. That's why they were as high as they are.
You just don't have
It's just
experience.
I have no experience.
Because
to
Kyle,
back it
you
up.
and I both put it 1.
Yeah.
This is the only generation I have played every one of the major 4 consoles.
Nah.
I have played I
Wait,
owned an original Xbox and a GameCube. My neighbors owned a PS2, and I had people who owned a Dreamcast.
You had Dreamcast?
I have played all
Oh my
4 of
gosh.
the major
Woo.
5th, 6th generation consoles, and every single console had its either the Dreamcast sucked, but it gave us a Sonic Adventure game.
It gave us Sonic Adventure.
and that's all you need.
As janky as their animations
As
were,
janky
they
as,
were
the-
great.
as bad as the Dreamcast was, and as much as it killed Sega's consoles, it gave us the adventure games,
And it gave
There
us
you
the
go.
real-time
and
Sonic
it gave us the
fandom.
real-time Sonic fandom.
Real-time confession.
Oh, here we go.
What's a Dreamcast?
So the Dreamcast was the
Let me-
last
hang on.
Sega console, and it had some of the jankiest. It looked kind of like slightly improved upon N64, but it was in the same
Ah, you
generation.
You like that controller?
No, I hate it. I
It
want it
has
to
one
burn.
of the ugliest
The
controllers ever.
N64 controller is the only controller I think that might be worse than this one.
Yeah.
I think I prefer the N64 to that.
Honestly, though. So I'll explain it like this, though. Right? You see that what the console itself looks like, and it's ugly. The games were similarly ugly because
Like the Sonic
like,
Adventure.
Sonic
Sonic
Adventure-
Adventure is the best example of how jank the game.
because the
Alright.
the mouth animations
Got
were
it.
wild. It looked you see what Aidan's doing, like he's flapping his mouth as wide and weird as possible.
with
That's
the
what it looked
eyeballs
like.
were like doing funky things too.
Yeah. So it looked like barely better than N64 graphics in the same generation as the GameCube, Xbox, and PS2.
So like we
Yeah,
don't
no.
talk about
Yeah,
the
that's
because
bad.
unlike the Wii U, which was atrociously bad from Nintendo, everybody pretty much knew that Sega wasn't really good at consoles, so we just kind of like didn't really give the Dreamcast a second thought. We're like, whatever.
Let it go.
But all of the 3 others did things. So if
They
you're
were so
playing on the
good,
PS2,
so innovative.
You're playing Burnout 3. My experience with the PS2 is mainly Battlefront 2.
Oh, which was one of the best.
One of
Getting-
the best, one of the best Star Wars games or first-person shooters of the time.
So who else
Ever.
absolutely got demolished on Geonosis? Because
No, I would do the demolishing on Gino.
really.
I was kind of mid.
I
you know?
started to once I started getting in some ships and just
I got
blowing
demolished
up
on
people.
Coruscant of all places.
Really?
Yeah.
I always got demolished on Mos Eisley playing Heroes versus Heroes.
Darth Maul, the most
Darth
busted
Maul.
hero in that game.
Of course he is. He should be in every
So like
game.
my experience is my neighbors had a PS2 and we would always play Star Wars Battlefront 2. We'd play one of the Lego Star Wars because I had the other on original Xbox. We'd play Halo Star Wars. We'd play Lego Star Wars 2 on theirs.
Yes, and we need to mention this was the introduction of the Lego Star
Of
Wars
the-
series.
well,
it
just
started
Lego
here.
video games.
Yeah, Lego video games,
But mainly Star Wars. Hey,
Yeah.
Lego Star Wars 1 and 2.
and it was glorious.
Really?
They were
It
all
was so good. I remember when we went to the store and my parents were like, "What video game do you want?" And we picked out Lego Star Wars, the original Lego Star
With their
Wars
prequel trilogy.
with the prequel trilogy on the GameCube, and my brother Darren and I played that
yeah,
almost
I
nonstop.
had the original Lego Star Wars game on Xbox.
Nice.
So like my neighbors had a PS2 and I played Battlefront 2. We'd play some Lego Star Wars, and I'd play Hot Wheels Stunt Track Racer.
Oh man,
Which was a surprisingly good game. And then my family owned a GameCube and an Xbox. So GameCube, you're playing Melee and Mario Kart.
Mario Kart. Yes, and Mario Kart Double Dash is still my favorite
It
Mario
is,
Kart.
I think, the best.
Yeah, I think
Mario
it is
Kart
the
game.
best designed. I feel like the newest has some of the best tracks, but Mario Kart
The
Double
mechanics
Dash
of
had
Double
the best
Dash
mechanics.
is
And
so
every
good.
time I boot up, this was my introduction to Mario Kart as well.
Yep, same here.
And so, like, anytime I boot up a different version of Mario Kart, I miss that
I miss
second
Double
person
Dash.
on the cart. I miss those mechanics.
I feel like the
It's
carts
not the
just
same.
handle so much better.
And
in
the
Double
carts
Dash.
handle so good, and like the items, the double boxes that let you swap between the new level of strategy, the like picking the different cart types,
And Baby Park.
and Baby
Baby
Park,
Park.
the absolute
My
chaos that
my
was
family,
Baby Park.
growing up, me and like all of my cousins, my grandparents owned a GameCube for some reason. So we would go up and like there'd be like 7 or 8 of us, and we'd do Baby Park, 9 laps, frantic item boxes,
Oh,
loser
yeah.
trades off. And we'd go for 2-3 hours. Chaos ensued.
And it
Nice.
was glorious.
So like the GameCube with Melee and N64 and the Double Dash, and then you had
You had two of the best Legend of Zelda games ever released
you
on the
also had
GameCube.
the Metroid Prime.
You had Metroid
games?
Prime. There were so many video game franchises that put out their best, some of their
In
best
this
stuff in this
generation.
generation. Because we have Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, the Metroid Prime trilogy.
Melee,
We
Double
had
Dash,
Melee, Double Dash.
the Star Wars Battlefront,
Star Wars
games,
Battlefront
the
2.
original, the
Yeah.
Burnout series.
Burnout.
To this day,
Aidan likes
Burnout
Burnout.
3 Takedown is the best racing game to ever grace gaming, in my humble opinion.
Humble.
Because nowadays, most racing games, you have like Forza Horizon and stuff, they're going for like this realistic style race, and even like the Need for Speed games that try and have the arcade aspect. If you take too much damage, your car just explodes. You can't just like cause chaos. Burnout 3 was like the last really good Criterion game because it's the road rage mode in that game. If you just need a burnout, just burn off steam. You just play road rage in a Formula 1 racer and just watch the paper mache cars disintegrate.
Yeah. And I'd like to point out something else about this generation as well. Because remember how I said, like, how... So what the SNES did with 2D gaming, it feels like
This generation
did with 3D gaming.
Other than the Dreamcast.
Other than the Dreamcast. Because while there have been improvements made since then, this one really did hit its stride. We not only... Because, like, remember, with the NES games, if you wanted a story, you had to read the packet that came with it.
Yeah.
With the SNES games, the
You could
story
get
could
the
now
story.
be in the game. Even though there was still a ton of information in the packet that came with it, the story could be in the game. You had some amazing stories told because of that. And with the N64, you could still have a lot of storytelling in the game.
You'd have some
but it was harder. You had some
janky-
janky animations, and like everybody looked kind of weird. And like, you mean like think about Cloud in Final Fantasy VII with his dumbbell-shaped arms. You know, it was a little weird. But then when you get to GameCube, sure, it's not like the most polygons, but you have enough now that like the characters can be more expressive, the animations can feel more fluid, and it still has that sort of stylized look. But they leaned into that and they made it work.
And let's not forget Halo
And Halo
2.
Yes, and let's talk about this. Halo made first-person shooters something that they had never could have been imagined to be before. It was an epic story. The enemies were intelligent and had different behaviors, and you could tell that they knew what they were doing. Like, and
It wasn't just running at you.
it wasn't just run and gun. They were doing things when you walked in the room. They were already going about their own business. You also had, I think, Call of Duty originated
Yeah,
on
Call of
this
Duty
console
originated here,
generation.
I think.
And back when their games were really focused on being a tribute to soldiers who have fought in real wars, where the whole thing was like, we are making these games to honor real veterans, which was a very cool approach to take. Like, just this generation, as much as the SNES generation
Call
is
of
my
Duty
favorite,
actually didn't start on consoles.
it didn't.
It started on PC.
It started on PC, but around this time, right?
I don't know when. Yeah, 2004.
2004. Yeah, that was
Okay.
this time period. I think that wasn't that the year that
Call of
Wind Waker
Duty
came out?
2 came out on original Xbox. So
On
the
original
first Call of Duty
Xbox.
was PC only, but Call of Duty 2
Yes, came out on
was
Xbox.
on Xbox.
And so, like, this generation just did so much. It brought gaming forward so much further, and it advanced a lot of things about storytelling as well, about, like, developing your own unique visual style that wasn't constrained. It was just...
Well, and let's not forget that the PlayStation 2 is still, to this day, the best-selling video game console of all time.
Yeah.
By a country mile still, I think.
Even better than the Wii and the Switch, huh? Because those two are
Oh,
insane.
those aren't even. So the PS2 sold 155 million.
Whew.
The Wii, 101 million.
Oh, wow.
The
yeah.
Switch, 122 million. So it's
Switch
still
is
30,
closer, but
still
still
30
30
million more units. It sold more. It still has a Wii U share and then some worth of units remaining.
Oh, my goodness.
The Wii U only sold 13 million units.
Oh my god.
Fit freaking.
Which, hang on, I don't think
3
that's the
Wii
lowest
Us.
out of, like... It sold more than the Dreamcast, which only sold 9.
Wow.
But what's funny is that the GameCube only sold 21 million. Like, the GameCube is considered a commercial failure.
And yet it was such a good console.
But it was just because it looked like a lunchbox.
Yeah,
It was it had a handle on the
It
back
did.
of it.
Yeah, it was a lunchbox.
But it created the best controller to ever exist.
That's true.
Like,
Controllers peaked in
It
this
is-
generation.
Yeah.
well, yeah, because I mean that was when Sony got their initial design of the DualShock controller.
Uh-huh.
That Microsoft had to create the Duke first in order to get the actual controller.
Yeah.
The Duke was
Was pretty bad.
pretty bad, but the GameCube controller. I mean, if you're still creating first party peripherals to play with a controller that is 3 generations old, you know that you hit a home run with that
Yeah.
controller.
Absolutely.
It's a good controller.
And so that's why, yeah.
We've got 1, 1, 2, 4. But I think that averages out to the highest ranking.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah, I think
I
that
would be
averages
happy
out.
having that as the
You
highest.
just don't have experience.
I just don't have
That's why you don't have
experience.
it high. Like
So-
I have played every generation. It is the only one that I have of this generation.
Basically everything you guys have said is like even more so why I put it as 2. But the reason I put the 360, PS3, except we're not really counting that one.
That
but
one
yeah.
doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Well, actually, how much, the PS3, so the Wii sold 101 million, the Xbox 360 sold 84 million, the PS3 actually outsold the Xbox 360.
Wow.
You're kidding.
But we didn't know that.
This is true.
Nobody knew that.
It's probably because the PS2 was so successful, everyone rushed and grabbed their PS3, and then like 5 games were released for it. And then everyone forgot.
Maybe.
Maybe, who knows?
Because, like, let's be real, the PS3, the reason it failed wasn't the console, it was just there weren't enough games.
Well, and because of 360, and but it's like the 360 didn't sell as many, and yet we remember it as just
So-
being more.
And
Yeah.
that's kind of one reason that I really, really love the 360 and the Wii generation is because the amount of games and also the variety of games.
There were a
True.
lot.
So
Tons of
you
variety.
mentioned Xbox with like Call of Duty and Halo kind of just like pushing forward really for the first time
Mm-hmm.
right then, but 360 and PS3 took that up a few notches because my story that I wanted to share, who remembers that?
Yeah, let's hear it.
So we were talking about Call of Duty lobbies earlier.
Yes.
These
I
where the
would like-
stories come from.
So mine's not about Call of Duty. That's the funny part.
Is it just another game lobby?
Yeah, it's another game
Hey,
lobby.
that's fine.
So mine is actually from a Transformers game.
Oh, man.
Is it?
Transcend Series 2.
Is this from like the height of the Transformers movies when they were also just
Oh,
like
and
kind
Michael
of-
Bay was making them.
Yeah, so like Transformers Fall of Cybertron and Transformers War for Cybertron, those two games I played probably as religiously as Pokemon, and that's saying something.
That is, knowing
So,
you.
for War for Cybertron, there was this escalation mode. I think I got to wave 900 or
Nice.
Alright.
something like
Wow.
that.
You put a bunch of time into it.
A lot of time. And that was in one sitting.
Mhm.
Me and my buddy just, I think,
Oh.
stayed up for an entire night and just got to wave 900.
Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do.
Sometimes.
And then in Fall of Cybertron, I was a team deathmatch murder machine.
Ah, TDM.
Yes. So you know the meme of like if you see a Japanese name, you just
Oh, you
run
just
and
run.
Mm.
cry.
Yeah?
I was that.
Oh.
Oh.
You were the Japanese name.
What's funny is I actually had a nemesis with a Japanese name.
No.
And we had to be the ones to fight each other because if we didn't, it was us getting all the kills on all of our teammates. And every time we saw each other, we were just like, there
It's
goes
just-
my kill to death ratio.
That's like the 360 era.
That's
It's like
awesome.
any game that had an online lobby system. It just chaos ensued in every way, shape, and form.
And it was beautiful.
Like the games nowadays, kids now, you'll never experience a Call of Duty lobby. I'm sorry. And also,
It's not the same.
I'm not sorry. Like I'm glad you don't have to deal with that. But like it was an experience. You just had to be there.
Mhm.
It was at the right time as we were growing up to make men out of us, you know?
Yep.
The really bad quality mics and the
I would not.
bad
I
quality
would not
people
have the mental
yelling.
fortitude I do now.
to
if it
play
wasn't for
League.
this.
Like,
So-
Well, at least with League, it's just typed.
yeah,
so-
nowadays
Yeah.
it's basically just typed.
Yeah.
You know,
across teams.
as much as it's like complete bias, I really do think that the 360 and the Wii just had such good gems to them. I mean,
Oh, they had good
Skylanders
gems.
even.
Skylanders.
Skylanders.
Skylanders was fun.
I
Not gonna
mean,
lie.
I know that's like a dead franchise at this point,
Skylanders.
but at the peak of its, goodness, that series slapped. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Yeah, I came into it thinking it was gonna be the dumbest thing. No, it slapped.
All
it
the
was
ads
good.
were so funny. I just like I love the Wii and the 360. Like I've played them so much. I have so much better memories with the PS2. Like
Yeah.
when I think of games that I want to go back and play, the only games on the Wii that I want to go back and play are like Wii Sports Resort because that game just doesn't age.
Yeah.
And Sonic Generations for some reason.
Hey,
And you
you
know-
When I
respect
think
Sonic.
of the previous gen, I'm like both Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic games, Melee, Double Dash, Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah, we haven't even mentioned KOTOR yet. Knights of the Old Republic.
Like Knights of the Republic came out on the Xbox. Those were Xbox originals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess I should also mention that with that generation, with the GameCube, the Xbox, the PlayStation 2, that was when we started to see a lot more of cross-platform games. Not that they would always be like multiplayer cross-platform,
But
think
every
about
console would have its own
every
version.
console would have its own version.
At
Lego
least
Star
with
Wars.
like Lego Star Wars was on all of them.
Yeah, exactly. We started seeing that come a lot more into play. I'm sure it existed on previous consoles to some degree, but that was usually with like these really tiny like Super Baseball on the Nintendo Entertainment System and Sega Master System. You know?
But no, like this gen started introducing that if you wanted to play Lego Star Wars, you just had to have one of the
You
consoles.
just had to have a console and you could play it.
And it's like they're all, which is why I was upset that Nintendo at its direct wasn't like allowing backwards compatibility to GameCube, like putting GameCube games on the Switch shop.
Right.
Because like they know
That
that
would-
if
that would be a
Super
home
Smash Bros. Melee and Mario Kart Double Dash were made available on there, it would sell like hotcakes.
It would. I would buy that in a heartbeat.
Coliseum.
Coliseum.
Like,
Yes, okay, I need to
Pokemon
mention this.
Coliseum.
One of my favorite Pokemon games of all time, Pokemon Coliseum, came out on the GameCube, and it is still okay. For those of you who don't know, Pokemon Coliseum, even though it had fewer polygons, less HD, looked visually more put together and better than Pokemon Sword and Shield.
Yeah.
The
Can
battle
we agree?
animations
Like,
were better,
yeah.
and it had a better story.
Yeah.
It had more challenging fights.
Mirror B's theme also
Mirror
slapped.
B, the music was amazing. Mirror B's theme was amazing. I'm gonna go listen to that after we're
Yeah,
done recording
I
the
just think
podcast.
that this, like the 360 and the Wii, like we have it at second. I have it
Yeah.
at second. Kyle has it at third.
And I mean,
like,
I have it as first for the same reasons
Yeah.
you have
Yeah.
The GameCube and the PS2.
stuff as well.
like it's just such they're such good console generations, and I feel like any other final thoughts. I'll say my final thought before we move on. If
Okay.
no one has
Yeah.
anything else. I think that generation has some of the most recognizable boot up screens of all time.
Oh, yeah.
You
Like-
are right.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
even though the Dreamcast sucks, the Dreamcast boot up screen is still very iconic.
I still don't know
The
what it is.
PS2 boot up screen,
Is the PS2 the one that was screamed at you?
it was
Yeah.
just like,
like someone had a synth keyboard. Just went,
yeah, it was literally. Well, have you seen that video? It's like
Yeah.
this is how the PS2 startup music was made. And they pushed a piano. It was just the piano that fell off a roof. So like the PS2, the Xbox with its nuclear reactor boot up screen is so cool. And then the GameCube.
The GameCube with the cube, and then you could like spin it to access
And
the,
yeah,
the
you
console
could spin it to
settings.
access the console. Like they got really, really cool with their like the 360
like-
has a good one.
Yeah.
The Wii doesn't have one. It just has like the jingle.
Yeah.
I feel like we've lost like those super iconic
Uh-huh.
like boot up screens, but the 5th/6th gen with the GameCube, PS2, they all had
It
some of the
was
most iconic
So good.
boot up
Have you guys
sequences.
seen the what was it? I think it was someone did a remix of the GameCube
With the Smooth
boot up.
Criminal?
Not with, I haven't seen Smooth Criminal, but I have seen one that was I think it was the song Running in the 90s. You know,
Yeah, like-
Oh, no.
and it was so good.
Yeah, but no, someone
I've
did a
also-
Smooth Criminal.
Oh,
Well,
that's
I think I've also
amazing.
seen Africa.
Yeah, like because
There's-
it's just a xylophone.
Mm-hmm.
It's so. Oh, I love all of the boot
Oh
up
my
screens.
goodness.
So I guess kind of like my final comments. Like I mentioned a second ago, the reason I have like 360 and stuff at one is because I remember staying up till like 3 a.m. playing Escalation when I really should have been in bed. And also something that I didn't mention is the DS. Like,
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
not
yeah.
consoles, but yeah, like the
The
DS,
DS
and
in
all of
the
that.
Wii 360
Like,
era was an
The DS is
absolute-
what really
not
got me
counting
into
the
video
3DS
games. Not
because
gonna
to
lie.
be blunt, I kind of hated the 3DS.
Well, the 3DS was a weird
It was kind
concept.
of weird.
But
it
like
was
the DS,
cool.
I remember so many nights, and so many
PictoChat.
times.
Yeah.
Elementary
Pacing.
school Picto Chat, anyone?
Oh yeah,
Ah!
PictoChat, like on long
Oh
car
my
trips, just
Long
PictoChat
card
with
trips,
whoever's
just
in the back.
PictoChat.
You know.
remember all of the music
Yeah.
that was made? I got no iPhone.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness. Yeah.
good old
Yeah,
PictoChat.
I feel like the DS was
music.
honestly probably, especially the DS Lite that had a backlit screen,
Oh,
was
yeah.
probably like the best home or the best
Handheld.
portable console.
Well,
not
that's not
including
the
the
Switch.
Yeah.
Yeah, the best portable that's ever been made because it fit in your pocket. There was an amazing library of games, and then just the DS itself was fun.
Yeah,
PictoChat was fun.
Again, not like an actual home console, so not really part of the discussion, but that would be around the 5, 6.
It would be between
generation.
5 and 6. Yeah,
And,
it would
like-
be
It's
like
between
right
the
between
GameCube, and the Wii.
I
Yeah.
just have so many good memories of pacing the floor as I was fighting the
Yeah.
champion.
Oh yeah. And you know, honestly, I would say that the Game Boy Advanced was
I had
only
one of those-
slightly behind the DS.
The
Only
Game Boy
slightly.
I
Advance,
fully
the
agree.
flip screen.
Yeah, I actually had the version that
Yeah.
didn't have the flip screen.
Oh, the original one.
It was the one that was like kind of fat in your hands.
Yeah, I
but,
had
like,
my. I
Nice.
own. We had 2. We have 2 of the DX ones.
Uh-huh.
Those were so
They were
good.
just so good, and they had Pokemon Emerald on them, which was
And a lot of Final Fantasy games.
and some Zelda games.
Making,
some Hot Wheels
making
games.
a ROM hack of Pokemon Emerald, heck yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Nothing will ever top just being up at midnight and just hearing your mom coming,
Oh,
slamming
yeah.
it shut, stuffing it into your pillowcase, and
No, I just straight
And
up
then
looked at
he's
my
just
mom.
under the sheets. Ding.
I just straight up looked at my mom and I'm like, I'll finish the fight.
Yeah, handhelds are a different story because Nintendo's the only one. Sony tried.
Sony,
Mhm.
the PSP
did-
was all right. I've heard
I
there was
liked
some
the
good
PSP
things.
mainly because I had my dad had a Yu-Gi-Oh game and I was absolutely
like,
crazy at it. but that's it.
Nintendo clears. Like, yeah, the
Yeah.
3DS
Yeah.
sucked, but it beats any of Sony's handhelds.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So like,
Definitely.
if you do it, you're like, oh, best handheld console.
And it did-
Nintendo.
Did I
And it
mention
did give
Nintendo?
us- And then the 3DS did give us some good remakes of Ocarina of
Well, I
Time
mean,
and
you got
Majora's Mask.
and you could avoid buying a Wii U to play the new Mario Kart and Smash game.
Yeah, it's true.
That's very
That was
true.
true.
Yeah.
Very true.
So you could avoid buying a Wii U.
Yeah.
There we go.
I'd like to get into my final comments. I will say, like I said before, that my top three I think all deserve a spot in number one. It is
Valid.
begrudging that I put the GameCube above the SNES, but I have to admit it is.
I would have had problems if you had put the SNES. Like, I know you love the SNES,
I
but there's
love
no
the
way that
SNES.
the SNES alone clears those three consoles.
Yeah.
And that's
No.
why I had to put it above. I had to be fair. I had to be as
It's
impartial
3
as
on
I
1
could.
here.
Yeah. But what was I gonna say? I would love to eventually see if there's a way to like somehow create generations of PC gaming, which would be hard to do and hard to be. It would have to be
Yeah.
about
You'd
like
be
what.
ranking operating systems.
Yeah,
Pretty
pretty
much.
much.
But I
Windows
bet there'd be a way to do it.
XP.
There'd probably be a way to do it. And I will say
Windows
though,
Vista.
like one more thing towards like the GameCube, even some of the like less major games like Harvest Moon, It's a Wonderful Life.
Did you know that they made a
Which
Jimmy
is so
Neutron
good.
game?
Oh my gosh.
I
Did
think
you know
I did.
the Shrek 2 video game?
Shrek 2.
Yeah.
Or
Uh-huh.
Hogwarts Quidditch World Cup for Xbox?
Yeah.
Nice.
I played a bunch of those like really like
Obscure
niche games
games.
because we just had a big
That's
library.
And I will say one thing I never mentioned about the SNES was that was when we actually started getting like video game music that was consistently amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Like we had some pretty good stuff on the NES with like the original Legend of Zelda theme song, but SNES music
you had extra
was
bits to work with.
amazing. You guys need to listen to the Final Fantasy VI soundtrack. It's so good. It's
Mm-hmm.
better than even some of the stuff nowadays.
Fair enough.
So I'll just say that much.
Final thoughts, Ben?
I'm just overall, I'm inexperienced when it comes to consoles. So
Fair enough.
that's the main reason why my top three were the only ones I'd actually touched.
That
So-
makes sense.
All right, fair
Who
enough.
can blame you?
You can
So-
blame you.
Yeah.
I didn't want to rank anything that I actually hadn't experienced firsthand. So I think generally all consoles are good except for the Wii U. And so
Yeah.
those
And
are
the
my
Virtual
final-
Boy.
Didn't know the Virtual Boy
We
was a thing, but-
almost went the whole ranking episode without mentioning that abomination. Why?
You don't know about the Virtual Boy.
Nope.
Nope.
I didn't either.
we can talk about that later.
Yeah.
Yeah, go home, do some homework, and you'll be like, why did they think this was a good idea?
I mean, I got the one of the emulators that sounds
Well,
similar to that.
I'll just do a TLDR before we
No.
before we move to
Tell people to
esports.
research it. I want
Just
them to
imagine
research it.
VR headset, but it's only in red and black, and you can't move your head. That is all.
What?
Time for esports.
Time for esports.
So before we go
Okay.
into actual esports reporting, the last news bit that I had that's esport related, this news came out like Thursday or Friday. So the esports organization, The Guard, which is owned by the Kroenke organization, so he owns the Los Angeles Rams, he owns like Arsenal Football Club, like all of the like big sports franchises,
Okay.
the Denver Nuggets. He under that ownership group is The Guard, which is an esports organization that has teams in Valorant, Overwatch League, Call of Duty, Apex, all sorts of the esports. It came out earlier this week that The Guard laid off all staff, everyone,
Including the players.
other than I think people specifically employed for the esports team. So
Wow.
so it's like anyone that was related to social, to marketing, to gone.
Wow.
And everyone's like, huh? And this comes after like other groups like 100 Thieves and Optic had done dozens of layoffs, and so the Guard, so they laid off like all of their staff except like their direct esports teams, and we don't know what's gonna happen with like they haven't said anything about the Guard Valorant team. We don't know what's happening with them, but we do know that the two Blizzard game teams, the Los Angeles Gladiators in the Overwatch League and the Los Angeles Guerrillas in the Call of Duty League, they were specifically named that the Guard, the Kroenke group, will continue to run these teams through their respective games' seasons.
Uh-oh.
And at the end of their seasons, if they do not have a new buyer, the teams will be disbanded. They will just be dropped.
Ooh.
No.
So for the Los Angeles Gladiators, they basically have until the end of October.
Oh,
And so they'll be looking for new buyers for those two teams throughout the. I think only those two are named for new buyers because of Blizzard's wonky franchising rules.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, Valorant is franchised, but the Guard isn't a part of the franchise. They're just in the Challengers League circuit right now. So they don't have to, like, pay a fee to be in there. They just participate. But the Gladiators and the Guerrillas still owe Blizzard money from the initial buy-in because Blizzard, I don't know what
Money.
Yeah, let's
Bobby
hope-
Kotick did to get
Yeah,
those.
let's hope that if Microsoft does succeed in acquiring Activision Blizzard, that they fix that.
Yeah.
So everyone's kind of looking at Stan Kroenke specifically, being like, if he's pulling out of esports, like, this man's worth $13 billion. It's pocket change to keep these esports organizations running, even if he's losing money off of them. If he's pulling out, that doesn't bode well for esports. Most people right now are thinking like this is the time that the esports bubble is gonna burst. That's been speculated about for the last couple of years of like, because back in like 2016, 2017, when everyone was like getting on the like esports is the next big thing, when the Overwatch League started, when league started really taking off, when the international started taking, like, everyone was investing, and now it's starting to catch up to everybody, and like these big organizations that have been in esports forever are having to cut back because they are hemorrhaging money.
I'm actually writing a paper about this in my English class
You are.
about the rise and now the fall of esports.
Well, let's
How,
hope
like-
it's not a complete fall, just recession.
They
Yeah.
they got over eager. Everyone was like, "Oh, this is the next big thing. It's going to overtake the NBA. Let's franchise." And somehow these big corporate execs got everybody on board, and now they're paying the consequences. And as an avid esports enjoyer, I'm worried about this, which is why I'm happy that Blizzard might get bought, because maybe the Overwatch League could be saved, but I don't know. So that's the somber news. Let's ignore that. Let's talk about the esports. It's actually still happening. So we've got quite a bit. So we've got 6: Call of Duty, League of Legends, Valorant, Dota, Rainbow Six, and Pokemon for Travis.
Yep.
So Ben and I will flip back and forth for the first 5, and then we'll go to Travis at the end. So Call of Duty, they're in their 3rd stage of qualifiers. They've only been playing matches, I think, for like a week or 2 now. Yeah, they started on the 17th, was their first week of stage 3 matches. So each team has played 2 or 3 matches. Currently, the 2 undefeated teams, Boston Breach in first, 3-0. New York Subliners in second, 2-0. And then FaZe, Atlanta, Toronto, Seattle, LA, and Optic round out the top 8. And then the winless teams, London, LA, Minnesota, and Florida, have not won a game. So that's fun. So those matches will continue through the end of next week, I believe, through March 5th, and then they'll have their stage 3 qualifiers. So
Let's go Seattle.
yeah, Seattle's getting they're mid. They're 1-1. But Boston is currently in the league. Now, if we look at all season standings, which I touched on after the final, the stage 2, Atlanta is still at number 1 with 165 qualifying points, but New York is at 145, and with them being as high as they are, they're looking in a good spot. So, Ben, League of Legends.
League of Legends. So, in North America, FlyQuest is still completely stomping. They actually did lose against one of the lower level
They
teams.
played down to competition. They underestimated them, I would imagine. Took scrims a little lightly.
I don't know. Honestly, it just seemed like an utter failure the entire game.
Oh, they just
They just flopped. I don't
They
know
just
I don't
forgot
know
how to
exactly what
play.
happened, but their main support, they were actually playing with a sub support the whole time.
Oh,
Their main support just got out of Visa jail, so now they're able to.
we love Visa jail.
Yeah.
Now they're able to actually play for the team.
Visas.
And so I mean they've won all their games so far since their support got into the region. So I think things might be looking up. And overall, like with the rest of the league, we've got Cloud9, EG, and actually Golden Guardians are the next 3. So Golden Guardians had an abysmal start, going 0-4 in the first 2
And
weeks.
that was the one
gosh.
that
Young was playing.
Young
on it.
was playing.
Unfortunately, he's not playing on it anymore,
Yeah.
just because he was only a sub
the
for the
bench.
first 2 games, which they unfortunately lost. But now they have won 7 games in a row.
Heyo.
Wow.
So they are doing really well for
That big
themselves.
comeback starts right here.
Here we
Which
go.
is actually surprising to see, because Golden Guardians has been like a career last place team in the
Perennial
in the North
basement
American.
dweller.
So they have just been always and now I guess they've picked up Gory a really good mid laner, and they've picked up. Trying to remember their jungler, I don't remember, but they're doing really well this split, and I hope to see them go pretty far in
Nice.
That's fantastic.
Good job.
the playoffs. LCK, it is still T1, completely dominating
T1 and Gen G still at the top.
until the top.
No surprises there.
DRX, the ones who won the Worlds this last year, are 1-10.
Yeah, but lots of their players aren't
They're-
on that team anymore.
Yeah, the support was the only one who
It's
stayed
not
on
the same team, so
It's not the
you
same
know,
team.
Yikes.
can't expect
Oof.
them to repeat.
I mean, to be fair, they won Worlds. I mean, my thoughts on that is if you win Worlds,
Go chase the bag.
Mm-hmm.
you're good.
Yeah.
You're good. You did your thing.
you did your
You
thing.
did good.
Like,
Yeah.
people are okay, not actually going to talk about it, but this is going to be important in my section about Pokemon. But people are calling Wolf Glick kind of a washout at this point because it's been so long since he won, but foreshadowing on that.
All right.
Ooh.
But he won a Worlds. He did his thing.
Nice.
Uh-huh.
What about the what about China and Europe?
So Europe, it is just 3 teams left. We've gone into with the new
Yeah, and then the
split.
bracket bit.
Yeah, it's new. It's very short, and so now we're almost done with the first split, and it is just right now it is Koi and Mad Lions playing against each other. Koi, which used to be Rogue, and G2 beat Koi earlier in the quarterfinals or semifinals, and are now waiting for whoever wins this match in the finals.
Nice.
And it was actually really surprising to see SK make it to the quarterfinals because it's been forever since they even made it to playoffs. They've been struggling real hard for the past while, and they picked up Marcoon and Certus, and they've just been doing really well this split. They even beat out Vitality, which is supposed to be Vitality was the number 1 seed in the first the regular season. They finished first. They only lost 1 game.
Yeah.
And so Vitality just dropped the ball. I don't know what
Unlucky.
happened. They were the super team that was supposed to win Worlds for Europe, but as something
Weren't they the Super B team though? Is what you said?
that was XL.
Oh, XL was
XL
the Super B team.
XL was the super B team. They had a bunch of A tier, not S tier, but A tier players that have all won a split once, and then XL got last in the regular season.
Ooh.
They dropped out in the first.
Now what
portion.
about China?
Now China. So actually, it is LNG. And so it has been a while since LNG was ever doing well in the regular season, but they're actually pulling out. They've got, unfortunately, my favorite Chinese player is Duanbi, but unfortunately LNG is kind of benched Duanbi in favor of a different
Unlucky.
laner. But JDG with Deft is doing really well, and it is Edward Gaming and Top Esports in the 3rd spot after that.
Sweet.
So
League of Legends.
League of Legends, lots of fun.
How about Valorant? The other Riot game. So they're having their big lock-in, VCT lock-in in Sao Paulo right now. It's still ongoing. It goes until the 4th of March. So they just have a single elim bracket as far as I know, just starting with 32 teams and working their way down. Currently they're in the quarterfinals. Matches are currently being played, or at least going on. So anyways, currently the only teams that are left are Loud, DRX, Natus, Vincier. I think it's just... Oh, and... No, wait, yeah. Oh, and then 100 Thieves and what Esports? Yep. Will be playing on Sunday, and then Fnatic and Furia will be playing on Sunday as well. So then the winner of those 2 games will face each other, and then Leviathan and Vitality also will be playing later today, actually, on the 25th of February. And the winner of that team will play Vincier.
So we'll probably be coming back to this tournament next
Yes,
week.
next week I will come back to this tournament and report on the winner. Loud and DRX are the 2 up top. And they look to be... So one of them is probably going to take it. Although Vincier has yet to drop a map. So there's also that. So that's how Valorant's going in VCT in Sao Paulo, South America. What about Dota?
You know what else is going on in South America? The Lima Major. Lima,
For-
Peru for Dota.
I didn't even know they did majors.
So right now there's not much information. Their esports kind of broadcasting is a little off right now, and their reporting is on their website isn't working too well. But
Wikipedia.
Yeah. Going off of the information I got from the regular season, it's looking like kind of general, still the same teams really doing well. We've got Beast Coast, Evil Geniuses, Team Liquid, and PSG LGD. They're looking like the kind of top teams right now, and I imagine that like
PSG LGD is 1-4.
wow.
Liquid though is 4-2.
There we go. So yeah,
So playoffs haven't happened yet.
they're in the regular season.
Yeah.
Not the regular season. They're in the group stage,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
so playoffs start I think at the start of the next week.
The 28th. So yeah, I think it's mid next week is when playoffs start. It looks like it's just the top
Tuesday?
four
think it's
teams
Tuesday.
from each group. So currently that is Game and Gladiators, Talon, Esports, Evil Geniuses, Team Spirit for Group A, and then Liquid Entities, Shopify Rebellion. There's that Shopify team again, and Beast Coast in Group B. So no, you're this PSG team. They're not going anywhere. They're 1-4.
They were doing really well in the regular season, but
Well, they're getting body slapped in
we'll have to see.
Lima.
Butter slap.
So yeah, that's cool. Rainbow Six Siege had their invitational last week, but we weren't doing an episode last week. Here we are. So they did their thing in Montreal.
Ooh.
Very cool.
The winner of that was G2 Esports.
G2.
G2 was once risen back to power. in Rainbow
G2
Six.
took the grand finals over W7M Esports, and then Oxygen Esports claimed third, with Astralis coming up in fourth. Obviously, I don't play Rainbow Six Siege. Looking at the group stage, G2 was not even the top seed in their group. Koi was top, and M&M Gaming was undefeated in their group stage.
It's a classic G2 move.
But then M&M got eliminated in the second round of losers. So
Wow.
Oh.
unlucky. G2 actually made a lower bracket run. Oh my, yeah.
That is what
So
G2
they got
always
eliminated.
does.
They got eliminated 2-0 in the first round of uppers by Wolves Esports, and then proceeded to beat FaZe, Dark Zero, M80, Wolves. They got their revenge on Wolves, and they took out Astralis and Oxygen. So they just tore through the lower bracket, and then W7M just kind of was walking in the upper bracket. I mean, they didn't go undefeated in maps, but no, FaZe in their lower bracket run up until the grand finals, they dropped all of 2 maps.
Wow.
Jeez.
Go G2.
So G2 kind of had a lower bracket Cinderella run in there at the end. What about Pokemon,
Okay,
Travis?
so there's actually 2 regionals that I wanted to brush up on.
Mm-hmm.
One longer than the other one because the most recent one is kind of boring, not gonna lie.
Fair enough.
All right.
Okay, so the one that happened last week was the Oceania regionals, and all of the regionals are basically accumulating points. That way you can compete at Worlds. I mean, pretty basic stuff. The winner of the last one is, let me read the name, Gavin Michaels. He used a pretty basic team, not gonna lie.
Just kind of all meta picks.
Yeah, all meta picks. He had the classic Amoongus, which is a very staple one right now. Some of the
Don't.
If Court was
Guy,
here.
if Court was here, he
Court
would
was
have
here.
just done it.
Iron Hands is incredibly staple right now. And granted, there's multiple builds you can use for them, but pretty basic stuff. The one that I actually care about is the one that happened 2 weeks ago. Oh, wow, I cannot think. Give me half a second to double check where.
In the world,
Yeah, in the
Somewhere
world.
Somewhere
planet
on
Earth.
Earth.
somewhere on planet Earth, a Pokemon tournament was held.
Yeah,
the
pretty
world,
much.
a
My
Pokemon
brain just
tournament was held.
skipped out.
Can't wait for the day when we
where
can say
it
somewhere on
was.
Mars.
Yeah, the Mars Invitational.
It was
for Rainbow Six.
Orlando regionals.
Florida.
So, 2016 Worlds winner Wolf Glick was actually the winner of this regionals, and it was with a very off-meta team, which he kind of specializes in, which is why a lot of people call him washed, because he doesn't like using the top of the meta, I'm gonna win everything teams. But he came in with a very off-kilter strategy of Perish Trap, something he's used before. If anyone watching knows what that is, kudos to you. I'm not going to take the time to explain. And ended up getting the win, which is his first win in quite some time. So, felt pretty good.
No longer washed.
Exactly.
Did the Tiger Woods treatment.
There you go.
Did the Tiger Woods thing. Other esports stuff will be coming in the future. Overwatch League has not started. I still have to wait a month. Waiting patiently.
Ouch.
L.
Oof.
But once it does begin,
Once it does, you will have purpose again.
I will have purpose. I will have purpose. So yeah, that was the episode. That was a flubbed rankings. It turned into more of just a discussion. I'll decide in post if I want to put visual rankings up at all. Have fun, me in the future, tomorrow.
Good luck.
Good luck. Good luck.
Nice.
Yeah, that was kind of flubbed on everyone's part. I think it may have had to do with how you guys told Michael, because I actually put like numbers like 1 through 8. He may have, you gave him just a list, and he may not have known what order to put
I
it.
said from top to bottom.
Oh,
So
just kidding.
I made it clear. I don't know. I mean,
I wasn't
thought it
super
was
clear to Ben, so that was Ben's wasn't Michael's fault. It was his and my fault.
I'm bad at interpreting.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we made it work. We made it work.
We made
It's
it.
okay,
yeah.
Ben.
We just,
figured it out
we just had a
eventually.
discussion in order.
It was kind of fun. I liked it.
It was a little more
nice.
fun this way because we're hearing it from each other, but rather than getting the aggregates first.
Well, I mean, it would have been nice to have had the aggregate, so we'd be like, who the heck pulled this average down? Why the heck is the GameCube in 3rd? Why is the NES not in 6th? So yeah, that was all. Any final thoughts? Anything final?
Well, I guess I just like to say thank you all and thank you audience for having me on. It's
You can
been
thank
a pleasure.
you can thank Court for not
Thank you,
for
Court.
not remembering.
Thank you, Court, for abandoning your post. Please make sure you do it again.
That's all right. You can take my spot next week.
Yeah, we have to keep the inconsistencies going. So
right.
So he's going to leave, and I'm going to
everything
be
will
over
be different.
there
Who
next
hasn't
week.
been gone? Oh, I have to leave one time.
You have to vanish.
We have to have 2
mysteriously.
of us leave, and we have Travis and Jason come on, and there's only 2 people normal. And it's Jason and Court, Ben
Oh,
and Court, and they have
no.
no idea how to set anything up.
I'm gonna bolt your door shut.
It's a mess. We don't have consistency.
I will say because Travis is here, we finally have someone as one of the crew of the podcast for this week who has met my wife.
Yeah, I don't think she's real.
These two.
I can confirm.
She
She
goes
is
to
real.
different
Ben
school,
have
you
not
wouldn't
even
know her.
seen a
No,
picture of
neither
her. I don't
has
even know
Jason,
why.
neither has Court.
Yeah.
The rest of the other 4 of us don't even think she's real. I don't think Jason's wife is real. Yeah.
What about my wife?
Nope, I haven't seen her.
Yeah.
She goes to a different school. You wouldn't know
She
her.
goes to a different school. You wouldn't know her. Which is right. Jason got married last week.
He did. Congratulations.
Oh,
So
Jason.
everybody
Congratulations,
congratulate
Jason.
Jason.
Yes.
When you see him, if you see him, congratulations, Jason.
Yes.
Pass him on the street.
Pass
give
him
him
on
good
the
thumbs
street.
up.
He's part of the Married Man Meta with Kyle.
Yep.
He is now his power level has now been raised. His stats have been buffed. The wedding ring gives him a buff of his stats.
He also got the permanent perk of marriage companion.
Yeah.
Yeah,
now he's a permanent
companionship.
companion.
Yep.
It's the best.
Companionship.
All right.
Any other final comments before
No.
we close out?
Take us out.
Alrighty. Knights of the D-Pad is a publication of the Daily Universe. We would like to give a special thanks to Alan Neves, Miles Romney, and Melissa Gibbs for everything they did and do to help support us and continue to do this podcast. You can thank Alan Neves for this cool new table.
Superman table.
Yeah, it's just shaped like
It
the Superman
looks like
logo
the
from
Superman logo.
above.
Oh yeah.
Also,
it totally does.
it took right.
Yeah, right?
If you would like to reach out to us with feedback, ideas for topics, or just to say hello or share memes, we accept memes.
I like memes.
Yeah, you can shoot us an email at knightsofthedpadpodcast@gmail.com. That's all lowercase, straight through, no punctuation. knightsofthedpadpodcast@gmail.com. With that, let's sign off. My name is Kyle,
I'm Ben.
I'm Aidan.
And I'm Travis.
and we are the Knights of the D-Pad. See you next time.